When humanity reached for the stars, they never expected what was waiting in the darkness. On the mysterious planet Isilla, an advanced expedition team discovers ancient ruins that shouldn't exist, and something watching them from beyond sight. As their crew vanishes one by one, three survivors must unlock the secrets of an extinct civilization while being hunted by creatures that defy scientific understanding. Can they unravel the truth before becoming part of Isilla's deadly legacy? Stay until the end to discover the shocking fate of Expedition Horizon, and don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling sci-fi adventures. The shuttle descended through Isilla's atmosphere, its hull vibrating softly against the pressure. Captain Sophia Drake watched through the viewport as the planet revealed itself, a landscape of crystalline formations interspersed with weathered stone structures that defied geological explanation. Her heart quickened at the sight of the ruins, ancient spires reaching skyward like skeletal fingers. The discovery had come during a routine survey of the Outer Rim territories, and now her team stood on the brink of potentially rewriting galactic history. Beside her, pilot Nathan Greaves adjusted the controls with practiced ease, his eyes flickering between instruments and horizon. "These readings are off the charts," he muttered, fingers dancing across the console. "The energy signatures coming from those ruins, it's like nothing we've seen before." In the rear compartment, biochemist Lena Carter meticulously calibrated her equipment, her voice carrying forward with scientific enthusiasm. "If these structures are as old as preliminary scans suggest, we're looking at a civilization that predates human space travel by millennia." The shuttle touched down gently on a plateau overlooking the largest concentration of ruins. Through the cockpit windows, the team observed peculiar patterns etched into the stone surfaces, intricate carvings that seemed to shift slightly when viewed indirectly. It was this detail that first caught Lena's attention as she stepped onto the alien soil, her boots sinking slightly into the fine dust. "Captain, look at these markings," she called out, kneeling beside a particularly elaborate design. "They're not random. There's a mathematical precision here that suggests." Her voice trailed off as she noticed the faint vibration beneath her palms. The ground seemed alive with some kind of energy pulse, subtle but undeniable. The initial exploration revealed more questions than answers. The ruins extended far beyond what orbital scans had suggested, forming a vast network of interconnected structures that defied conventional architectural principles. Some buildings appeared to float impossibly above the ground, held aloft by unknown forces. Others seemed to phase in and out of existence, their outlines shimmering like heat waves on a summer road. Captain Drake established a perimeter camp near the central plaza, where massive stone pillars formed a perfect circle around what appeared to be some kind of control mechanism. The air carried a strange charge, making the hairs on their necks stand on end. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered engineer Marcus Hale as he set up environmental sensors. His comment proved prophetic when, late that first night, technician Sarah Lynn failed to respond to her scheduled check-in. A search party found her tent empty, with no signs of struggle, just a single boot print leading toward the ruins that terminated abruptly mid-step. The following morning brought more unsettling discoveries. Equipment left outside the perimeter showed evidence of tampering, though security cameras captured nothing unusual. Dr. Elena Rodriguez reported strange fluctuations in her biological scans, readings that made no sense according to known science. "It's like something's here, but not quite in our dimension," she explained, frustration evident in her voice. The team gathered for an emergency meeting in the command tent, where Captain Drake attempted to maintain order despite growing unease. "We need to focus on what we can measure," she insisted, though her own hands trembled slightly as she reviewed the data. "There's a rational explanation for all of this." But even as she spoke, a low humming sound began emanating from the central plaza, causing everyone's heads to snap toward the source. The stone pillars had begun to glow faintly, their carvings pulsing with an inner light that seemed to watch them back. As days turned into weeks, the pattern became clear. Something was systematically removing team members from the equation. First came the disappearances during night shifts, then during routine exploration missions. Each time, the victim would simply vanish without warning or trace, leaving behind only their personal effects and an ever-growing sense of dread among the survivors. The remaining crew fortified their position, setting up multiple layers of detection systems, motion sensors, thermal imaging, electromagnetic field monitors, yet none registered any activity before each disappearance. During one particularly tense evening, Lena Carter spent hours analyzing samples collected from the ruined surfaces. Under microscopic examination, she discovered traces of an unknown organic compound that seemed to resonate at frequencies matching the mysterious energy readings. "It's almost like the entire site is alive," she explained to Nathan, who had joined her in the makeshift lab. "But not in a way we understand. These compounds show characteristics of both organic tissue and quantum particles." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden power surge that caused all their equipment to momentarily malfunction. When systems came back online, they noticed something peculiar. The security footage from the previous night showed brief distortions in the air, like heat waves rippling across desert sand. These anomalies coincided precisely with the times of the disappearances. Captain Drake grew increasingly withdrawn, spending hours poring over the expedition logs while chain-drinking strong black coffee. She began noticing patterns in the victims' last known locations, a spiral formation radiating outward from the central plaza. "It's hunting us," she whispered during one sleepless night, tracing the pattern on her tablet. "Whatever it is, it's learning about us, testing our defenses." Meanwhile, tensions within the group escalated. Arguments broke out over whether to continue exploration or initiate an immediate evacuation. Some believed staying meant certain death. Others argued that abandoning such a significant discovery would be unforgivable. Through it all, the ruins remained silent witnesses, their ancient stones seeming to absorb the drama unfolding around them while maintaining their enigmatic vigil. Nathan Greaves found himself drawn to the central plaza during the long Icilian nights, unable to shake the feeling that the stone pillars were communicating with him in some primal way. The humming sound grew louder the closer he approached, resonating in his chest cavity like a tuning fork. He began documenting minute changes in the carving's luminescence, correlating these observations with the timing of recent disappearances. "There's a cycle to it," he confided to Lena one evening as they reviewed his notes. "The intensity builds over approximately 72 hours, peaking just before someone goes missing." Lena's own research had led her to equally disturbing conclusions. The organic compounds she'd identified seemed capable of manipulating local gravitational fields, creating temporary microsingularities that could explain how people disappeared without physical evidence. "What if these aren't ruins at all?" she speculated, running simulation after simulation on her portable quantum processor. "What if this entire site is some kind of massive biological organism, using quantum mechanics to exist simultaneously in multiple states?" Their theories took shape during marathon brainstorming sessions in the lab, fueled by adrenaline and fear. Ancient texts recovered from intact structures hinted at a civilization that had mastered the art of existing between dimensions, developing technology that blurred the line between matter and consciousness. "It's like they found a way to step sideways through reality," Nathan mused, examining a particularly complex set of equations carved into a stone panel. But at what cost? Captain Drake listened to their hypotheses with growing concern, recognizing the implications for their survival. If the site truly represented a dimensional interface, then standard defensive measures were useless against entities that could manipulate fundamental physical laws. "We need to think differently," she urged during their next strategy session. "Assume everything we know about physics and biology might be incomplete here. Approach this as if we're dealing with beings that perceive reality fundamentally unlike us." This new perspective transformed their investigation methods. Instead of relying solely on traditional scientific instruments, they began incorporating esoteric measurement techniques, studying subtle variations in brainwave patterns, documenting altered states of consciousness experienced by team members, and mapping psychological responses to different areas of the site. The breakthrough came unexpectedly during a routine maintenance check of the perimeter sensors. Lena had been calibrating a new type of quantum resonance detector when it picked up an anomalous reading, a series of pulses that matched the frequency of human neural activity, but originating from empty space. She immediately called Nathan, who arrived with his portable gravimetric scanner. Together, they witnessed something extraordinary. The air itself seemed to ripple and fold, revealing momentary glimpses of humanoid shapes that vanished as quickly as they appeared. "They're here," Lena breathed, her voice trembling with equal parts fear and excitement. "Right here, all around us." Over the next several hours, they refined their detection methods, discovering that the entities manifested strongest in areas of high emotional stress or intense concentration. The creatures responded to directed thought patterns, their forms stabilizing briefly when observers maintained specific mental states. Captain Drake joined them, bringing her tactical expertise to bear on their findings. "If they're responding to our thoughts, then perhaps we can communicate," she suggested, though her face betrayed her skepticism. They developed a systematic approach to interaction, using carefully controlled mental exercises combined with precise electromagnetic field manipulation. The results were startling. The entities began exhibiting predictable behaviors, their movements correlating directly with the team's directed mental activities. Through painstaking experimentation, they pieced together fragments of understanding. The creatures weren't merely invisible, they existed in a state of quantum superposition, occupying multiple probable realities simultaneously. Their apparent attacks on the expedition members seemed less like predation and more like attempts at communication gone horribly wrong. Imagine trying to make contact with beings so fundamentally different that your very presence destroys their molecular structure, Lena explained during one breakthrough session. "That's what's been happening here. Every time one of them tries to interact with us directly, it causes catastrophic physiological effects." This revelation casts their earlier tragedies in a new light. The disappearances hadn't been random acts of violence, but failed attempts at connection, like trying to touch water only to have it evaporate at the slightest contact. The team's understanding deepened further when they discovered certain harmonic frequencies that allowed brief moments of stable interaction. Using these tones, they managed to establish primitive communication, receiving fragmented images and emotions from the entities. The picture that emerged was both fascinating and terrifying, an ancient species that had transcended physical form, existing instead as patterns of probability and consciousness. Their civilization had achieved immortality through this transformation, but at the cost of direct interaction with lower-dimensional beings. The new understanding brought little comfort as the entity manifestations grew bolder and more frequent. During one particularly harrowing encounter, 3 team members barely escaped when their observation post was enveloped by a sudden distortion field. Instruments recorded impossible readings, negative mass values, temporal displacement, spatial folding, before failing completely. Captain Drake initiated emergency protocols, ordering everyone to remain within the fortified core area. Yet even there, safety proved illusory. The entities began manifesting inside their sanctuary, their presence marked by eerie temperature drops and inexplicable equipment malfunctions. Personal relationships frayed under the constant strain. Argument erupted over resource allocation, with some advocating for aggressive defense measures while others pushed for diplomatic solutions. Medical Officer Rachel Kim struggled to maintain the crew's mental health as paranoia spread through the group like wildfire. People began seeing things that couldn't possibly be there, familiar faces in the shadows, whispers in empty corridors. The situation reached a crisis point when Chief Engineer Marcus Hale suffered a psychotic episode, claiming he could see his deceased family members among the entities. His subsequent disappearance left the team profoundly shaken, forcing Captain Drake to implement strict psychological monitoring alongside their scientific investigations. Food and water supplies dwindled as automated delivery drones fell victim to the same phenomena affecting other equipment. Power reserves fluctuated wildly, sometimes dropping to critical levels without apparent cause. Maintenance crews worked around the clock to keep essential systems operational, often working in pairs for mutual protection. Communication with the orbiting support vessel became increasingly unreliable, with messages delayed or garbled by interference patterns matching those associated with entity manifestations. Through it all, the ruins continued their silent observation, their ancient stones absorbing the drama like sponges, soaking up water. The central plaza's humming grew louder, its rhythm matching the increased frequency of entity appearances. Carvings on the pillars shifted subtly, forming new patterns that seemed to respond to the team's evolving understanding of their situation. Despite the mounting dangers, scientific curiosity burned brightly in some quarters. Dr. Elena Rodriguez risked her life daily collecting samples from manifestation sites, while Lieutenant James Park developed increasingly sophisticated detection algorithms based on their growing database of encounters. The tension between survival instincts and scientific imperative created a palpable undercurrent of conflict within the group, threatening to tear them apart at precisely the moment they needed unity most. Against Captain Drake's explicit orders, Nathan and Lena ventured back to the Central Plaza during one of the entity's active cycles. Their portable quantum resonance detectors hummed with activity as they approached the stone pillars, now glowing with an intensity that bathed the entire area in ghostly illumination. "Look at this," Lena whispered, pointing to her scanner's display. "The entities are clustering around specific carvings. It's like they're trying to highlight something." As they moved closer, the air thickened with an electric charge that made their skin prickle. Nathan's gravimetric scanner showed localized gravity wells forming and dissipating around certain symbols, suggesting a deliberate pattern. "They're not attacking," he realized suddenly. "They're demonstrating." With painstaking care, they began documenting the sequence of events. The entities would manifest near particular carvings, their forms stabilizing briefly before dissolving into streams of quantum probability. Each appearance correlated with distinct fluctuations in ambient energy fields and subtle shifts in the pillar's luminescence. "It's a language," Lena exclaimed, her voice filled with wonder despite the danger. "A multidimensional writing system that uses physical manifestations to convey meaning." Their unauthorized experiment nearly ended in disaster when a particularly intense manifestation enveloped their position. Instruments went haywire, recording impossible data points as the very fabric of reality seemed to warp around them. Only their quick thinking, activating the harmonic frequency generator at precisely the right moment, prevented what would likely have been another disappearance. Back in the safety of the lab, they analyzed their findings with feverish intensity. The patterns revealed a complex system of communication that transcended traditional language barriers. Entities were using their ability to manipulate physical laws as verbs and nouns, creating sentences through sequences of dimensional shifts and energy manipulations. "They're not just showing us their language," Nathan concluded after hours of cross-referencing data. "They're teaching us how to read it." Their unauthorized actions finally came to light when Captain Drake reviewed the environmental logs. Instead of reprimanding them, she recognized the significance of their discovery. "You've given us a lifeline," she admitted during their debriefing. "But we need to proceed carefully. We're playing with forces we barely understand." Under Drake's supervision, they developed a structured approach to interacting with the entities. Using the harmonic frequency generator as a foundation, they created a protocol for engaging in basic exchanges. Each session yielded more insights, building a rudimentary dictionary of concepts that bridged the gap between human understanding and whatever form of consciousness the entities possessed. As communication improved, the true nature of the entities began to emerge, challenging everything the team thought they knew about life and consciousness. Through painstaking translation efforts, they learned that the beings referred to themselves as the Vorthak, a term that roughly translated to those who dance between possibilities. The Vorthak explained that their civilization had existed for countless millennia, evolving beyond physical form to inhabit the quantum realm where probabilities coexisted. Their current state wasn't a technological achievement, but a natural evolutionary progression, much like how early humans had developed from simpler organisms. The ruins weren't buildings at all, but anchoring points, structures designed to maintain their connection to three-dimensional space. Each pillar served as a nexus where quantum states could be manipulated to create temporary physical manifestations. The Vorthak demonstrated this capability by walking team members through the process of creating simple objects from pure probability fields, showing how matter could be assembled and disassembled at will. Their entire society is built on the principle of conditional existence, Lena explained during one breakthrough session. They experience reality as a spectrum of possibilities rather than fixed outcomes. This fundamental difference in perception explained many of the early tragic encounters. Human attempts to observe or interact with the Vorhack had collapsed their probabilistic states, causing catastrophic disruptions in their quantum framework. What had seemed like violent attacks were actually desperate attempts to preserve their integrity while trying to communicate. The Vorhack shared glimpses of their history through carefully constructed probability sequences that manifested as visions in the team's minds. They saw how the civilization had flourished across multiple star systems, existing simultaneously in countless parallel realities. Their culture valued harmony with the underlying fabric of reality, viewing physical manifestation as a sacred act rather than a default state. Most shockingly, they revealed that humanity's arrival had triggered a convergence of timelines, a rare event where multiple possible futures intersected at a single point in space-time. "We're standing at a crossroads of destiny," Captain Drake realized, piecing together the implications. "Our presence here has created a unique opportunity for both species to evolve." Through their newfound understanding, the team began grasping the full scope of what the Vorhack represented, not just an advanced civilization but a completely different evolutionary path that challenged the very definition of life itself. The entities existed as patterns of consciousness distributed across quantum states, experiencing reality in ways that defied human comprehension. Yet beneath these differences lay common threads: curiosity about the universe, desire for connection, and the drive to understand existence beyond immediate perception. The revelations sparked intense debate among the remaining team members about humanity's role in this unprecedented encounter. Captain Drake convened a council of senior scientists and officers to discuss their options, knowing that their decisions would have far-reaching consequences for both species. "We have a responsibility to approach this with humility," argued Dr. Rodriguez, her voice carrying the weight of their collective discoveries. "The Vorhack represent a form of existence that makes our own technological achievements seem primitive by comparison." Others, like Security Chief Anderson, advocated for caution bordering on withdrawal. "We've already caused irreparable damage through ignorance," he pointed out. "Every interaction risks collapsing their quantum states or contaminating their civilization with our limited understanding." The discussion grew heated as different factions presented their cases. Some viewed the Vorhack as potential allies whose knowledge could propel human civilization forward by centuries. Others saw them as dangerous unknowns whose very existence challenged the foundations of human science and philosophy. At the heart of the debate lay fundamental questions about cultural contamination and scientific ethics. Should they attempt to learn from the Vorhack, risking unintended consequences? Or should they withdraw completely, preserving the integrity of both civilizations at the cost of potential enlightenment? The argument reached a crescendo when Nathan presented his analysis of the Vorhack's quantum signature patterns. "They're aware of our internal conflict," he explained. "In fact, they're deliberately limiting their interactions to give us space to decide our course." This revelation forced the team to confront uncomfortable truths about their own motivations and biases. Were they truly seeking knowledge for its own sake, or driven by colonial impulses dressed up as scientific curiosity? Lena proposed a middle path, establishing carefully controlled protocols for limited information exchange while maintaining strict boundaries to prevent contamination. Her plan included developing new technologies that could facilitate communication without requiring direct physical interaction, allowing both species to learn from each other safely. The Council ultimately agreed to pursue this cautious approach, but not without dissent. Several team members requested transfer back to the orbiting vessel, unable to reconcile their scientific training with the reality of intelligent beings that defied conventional understanding. Captain Drake respected their decision, recognizing that facing such paradigm-shifting discoveries required strength of character that not everyone possessed. Implementing the new protocols proved more challenging than anticipated. The team constructed specialized interaction chambers using materials harvested from the ruins themselves, combining Vorhack technology with human engineering in unprecedented ways. These chambers created controlled quantum environments where both species could communicate through carefully modulated probability fields. Initial exchanges focused on fundamental concepts, mathematics, physics, basic philosophical ideas, gradually building toward more complex topics. The Vort hack proved eager teachers, though their methods often baffled human understanding. They demonstrated concepts through cascading probability waves that manifested as shifting geometric patterns, requiring the team to develop entirely new ways of perceiving and interpreting information. One breakthrough came when Lena discovered how to translate Vort hack speech into visual representations that human minds could process. By mapping quantum state transitions to color spectrums and spatial configurations, they created a dynamic visualization system that allowed real-time communication. This innovation opened doors to deeper understanding, though progress remained frustratingly slow. Simple conversations about weather patterns or structural engineering required hours of careful translation and verification. Yet with each successful exchange, trust grew between the two species. The Vort hack began sharing practical knowledge about their quantum manipulation techniques, teaching the team how to create small-scale probability fields for various applications. These lessons proved invaluable for improving their detection and communication technologies, allowing more team members to participate in interactions without risk of collapse. Captain Drake oversaw the development of strict ethical guidelines governing these exchanges. Every piece of knowledge gained from the Vort hack was carefully documented and reviewed by a multidisciplinary committee before being implemented or shared. They established quarantine protocols for new technologies and maintained detailed records of all interactions to prevent accidental cultural contamination. Despite these precautions, tensions occasionally flared when team members pushed boundaries in their eagerness to learn. An incident involving unauthorized experiments with quantum stabilization nearly resulted in another disappearance, reinforcing the need for strict discipline. Through it all, the Vort hack remained patient mentors, understanding the limitations of their human students while gently guiding them toward greater comprehension. Their teaching methods evolved from direct demonstrations to more abstract challenges, encouraging the team to develop their own solutions using the principles they'd learned. The delicate balance between species shattered one fateful evening when Security Officer Bradley accidentally triggered an ancient failsafe mechanism while investigating a previously unexplored section of the ruins. The entire site came alive with alarming intensity. Pillars pulsed with blinding light, energy fields surged unpredictably, and the air crackled with enough static electricity to raise every hair on their bodies. Through their newly established communication channels, the Vort hack transmitted urgent warnings that something had awakened, a dormant aspect of their civilization's defense systems designed to protect against existential threats. It's called the Singularity Sentinel. Lena translated from the frantic probability waves emanating from the central plaza, a last resort weapon created during their dimensional war. The situation rapidly spiraled out of control as sections of the ruins began physically rearranging themselves, creating labyrinthine corridors that trapped several team members. Emergency distress signals went unanswered as communication systems failed under the overwhelming energy discharge. Captain Drake coordinated rescue operations while Nathan and Lena worked feverishly to interface with the Sentinel's control mechanisms. Their previous work with Vort hack technology proved crucial as they deciphered complex quantum algorithms regulating the defense system's activation. "We're dealing with self-evolving code here," Nathan shouted over the rising hum of machinery. "Every second we delay, it becomes more sophisticated." The Vort hack manifested in unprecedented numbers, their forms flickering with distress as they attempted to contain the situation. Through their shared communication network, they conveyed that the Sentinel had detected humanity's presence as a potential threat to the delicate balance of probabilities sustaining their existence. Its programming, designed millennia ago, couldn't differentiate between hostile invasion and peaceful exploration. As the crisis intensified, the team faced an impossible choice. The only way to deactivate the Sentinel required channeling massive amounts of energy through the interaction chambers, energy that would likely collapse the quantum states of any Vort hack present during the procedure. "We can save either our people or theirs," Captain Drake stated grimly, her voice heavy with the weight of command. "But not both." The Vort hack, understanding the gravity of their predicament, made an extraordinary offer. They proposed merging their consciousness with the human operators, creating a hybrid state that could navigate both dimensions and shut down the Sentinels safely. It was a desperate gamble that risked permanent alteration of both species' fundamental natures. The merger process began in the central chamber, where Captain Drake, Nathan, and Lena volunteered to serve as hosts for the Vorthack consciousness integration. Specialized equipment monitored their vital signs as quantum fields enveloped them, creating a shared space where human and Vorthack minds could coexist. The experience defied description. Waves of pure probability crashed against their awareness, while alien thoughts and memories flooded their consciousness, like liquid light. Through this unprecedented union, they gained direct access to the Sentinel's core programming, viewing reality through eyes that perceived infinite possibilities simultaneously. The complexity is overwhelming, Lena gasped, her voice echoing with multiple harmonics as Vorthack consciousness intertwined with her own. But I can see the solution. We just need to. Her words dissolved into a cascade of quantum equations that Nathan instinctively understood despite their impossibility. Working in perfect synchronization, the hybrid entities began rewriting the Sentinel's code, restructuring its threat assessment algorithms to recognize the distinction between hostile intent and innocent exploration. The process required navigating treacherous conceptual landscapes where causality flowed backward and physical laws bent like rubber. Each adjustment risked destabilizing the entire system, potentially triggering a catastrophic release of quantum energy. Captain Drake's merged consciousness provided crucial stability, her leadership qualities translating into an anchor that kept the operation grounded while still allowing necessary flexibility. Time lost meaning as they worked, each subjective moment stretching into eternity while objective seconds ticked away with terrifying speed. The Sentinel fought back, deploying countermeasures that manifested as paradoxical loops and conceptual traps designed to shatter their concentration. But the combined intellect of human determination and Vorthack wisdom proved formidable, finding creative solutions to problems that should have been unsolvable. As the final modifications neared completion, the team faced an unexpected challenge. The Sentinel's core contained a failsafe that required simultaneous input from both original species perspectives to fully deactivate. This meant the merged entities had to maintain their hybrid state while consciously separating aspects of their consciousness to provide distinct inputs. The mental strain pushed them to their limits, with physical manifestations of the stress appearing as bleeding from eyes and ears, erratic heartbeats, and neural activity patterns that medical monitors struggled to interpret. Through sheer force of will and the unwavering support of their Vorthack partners, they completed the deactivation sequence, just as the system reached critical instability. The resulting energy discharge vaporized the central chamber's equipment but left the participants miraculously unharmed, their merged consciousness having somehow shielded their physical forms from destruction. In the aftermath of the Sentinel's deactivation, the survivors emerged from their quantum ordeal forever changed. The experience had rewired their neural pathways, granting them residual abilities to perceive and manipulate probability fields at a fundamental level. Objects would occasionally flicker in and out of existence around them, responding to unconscious thoughts before snapping back to normalcy. Colors seemed more vibrant, sounds richer, as if their senses had expanded to encompass additional dimensions of reality. The Vorthack, too, had undergone transformation through their intimate contact with human consciousness. Their manifestations became more stable and varied, sometimes taking on partially physical forms that retained consistency for extended periods. They expressed gratitude through cascading probability waves that manifested as beautiful geometric patterns in the air, a form of quantum art that human eyes could now appreciate directly. Captain Drake found herself able to sense the presence of Vorthack entities even without technological assistance, her mind attuned to their quantum signatures like a sixth sense. This newfound awareness allowed for more intuitive interactions, bypassing some of the formal protocols previously required for safe communication. Nathan and Lena developed complementary abilities. He could visualize potential future outcomes as branching paths, while she could detect and stabilize nascent probability fields, making quantum manifestations safer and more predictable. The rest of the team exhibited varying degrees of change, from enhanced pattern recognition to occasional precognitive flashes. These transformations raised profound questions about identity and consciousness. Were they still purely human, or had they become something new? The blending of species perspectives had created a unique cultural synthesis, with both groups adopting elements from each other's ways of thinking and perceiving. The Vorthak began experimenting with more direct forms of expression, while the humans found themselves considering reality in terms of overlapping probabilities rather than fixed certainties. This evolution extended to their scientific collaboration as well. Previous barriers to understanding fell away, replaced by a shared framework that combined human empirical methodology with Vorthak quantum intuition. Research progressed at an unprecedented rate, with breakthroughs occurring almost daily in fields ranging from material science to theoretical physics. Yet these advances came with their own set of challenges. The team had to develop new ethical guidelines for using their enhanced abilities, ensuring that their powers didn't inadvertently harm either species or disrupt the delicate balance of Isila's ecosystem. They established rigorous protocols for managing their quantum sensitivities, including regular meditation sessions to maintain mental stability and prevent accidental reality manipulation. As the expedition approached its mandated departure date, the question of what to share with the wider human community loomed large. Captain Drake convened a special council including both human team members and Vorthak representatives, their discussions facilitated by the new intuitive communication methods they developed. The Vorthak expressed concerns about humanity's readiness for such profound knowledge, citing historical examples from their own past where premature exposure to advanced concepts had led to societal collapse. "Your species stands at a similar crossroads to ours millennia ago," translated Lena from the complex probability waveforms. "Rapid advancement without proper philosophical foundation can lead to existential crisis." The council debated various approaches, from complete secrecy to gradual disclosure through carefully controlled channels. Dr. Rodriguez proposed creating a specialized institute dedicated to preparing humanity for quantum-level understanding, while Security Chief Anderson advocated for maintaining strict confidentiality until more was known about the long-term effects of their experiences. Ultimately, they settled on a phased approach. Immediate public reports would focus on the archaeological significance of the ruins while omitting details about the Vorthak and quantum phenomena. A select group of scientists and philosophers would receive limited information under strict non-disclosure agreements, forming the nucleus of what would eventually become the Quantum Ethics Consortium. The Vorthak contributed to this plan by providing encoded knowledge packets, quantum encrypted information that could only be accessed by minds properly prepared through specific meditative practices. These packets would serve as a safeguard, ensuring that humanity couldn't advance too quickly without developing the necessary mental and ethical frameworks. As preparations for departure intensified, the team grappled with personal decisions about their future roles. Some chose to dedicate their lives to bridging the gap between species, while others opted for more traditional scientific careers, carrying their experiences as private burdens. Captain Drake accepted a position leading the newly formed Institute for Dimensional Studies, tasked with overseeing humanity's careful integration of quantum knowledge. The farewell ceremony between species proved unexpectedly moving. The Vorthak manifested in synchronized patterns that created a spectacular display of light and color, while the humans responded with a specially composed piece of music that resonated with quantum harmonics. Both groups understood that they were embarking on separate but parallel paths of evolution, connected by shared experiences that transcended conventional understanding of friendship or alliance. Back on Earth, the impact of the Isilla expedition rippled through scientific communities and popular culture alike. While official reports maintained a veneer of conventional archaeology, those who had participated carried indelible marks of their quantum awakening. Former team members found themselves drawn together through shared experiences, forming informal networks to support each other's adaptation to their changed perceptions. Captain Drake's Institute for Dimensional Studies became a beacon for those seeking to understand the intersection of consciousness and quantum reality, though its true purpose remained hidden behind layers of plausible deniability. The Quantum Ethics Consortium quietly influenced policy decisions, steering technological development along paths that minimized risk to both human and Vortex civilizations. Regular communication with Isilla continued through quantum entanglement channels, allowing for ongoing exchange of carefully curated knowledge. The Vortex, meanwhile, entered a period of reflection and growth, their contact with humanity sparking innovations in their own society. They began exploring new forms of expression and interaction, gradually expanding their presence beyond Isilla's surface while maintaining their commitment to non-interference with less developed species. For Nathan and Lena, life after the expedition proved both challenging and rewarding. Their enhanced abilities opened new avenues of research while requiring constant vigilance to prevent accidental reality manipulation. They founded the Quantum Resonance Laboratory, where they pioneered safe methods for studying dimensional interfaces without risking catastrophic consequences. Years later, as humanity began cautiously implementing quantum technologies derived from Vortex knowledge, the true significance of their encounter became apparent. The ability to perceive and manipulate probability fields revolutionized everything from medicine to space travel, while the philosophical insights gained helped humanity navigate the transition to a more quantum-aware civilization. Captain Drake watched these developments with quiet satisfaction, knowing that the careful groundwork laid during those tense months on Isilla had paid off. The expedition had proven that even vastly different forms of life could find common ground through patience, respect, and shared curiosity about the mysteries of existence. As she gazed at the stars from her office window, she sometimes thought she could still feel the gentle hum of Isilla's ruins, a reminder of the incredible journey that had changed everything. Remember to subscribe for more mind-bending sci-fi adventures that explore the boundaries of human understanding and the mysteries of the universe.